Hi, I'm Jarosław Sokół, and this is my work in progress video on how I made a short animated film in the caves. Well, I should say on how I'm making, because the work is not finished yet. I'm still working on the closing credits and doing some refinements to practically everything. Animation layers, sound, etc. Anyway, time is running out, so I'm submitting the film as it is to the animation contest held by Real Illusion. The deadline is August the 8th, and I'm recording this stuff exactly on that date. I just hope I'm gonna make it. First of all, I want to say that animation is totally new to me. The film In the Caves, which I posted on my YouTube channel, is my first attempt at narrative animation. It just never crossed my mind to tell a complex story in animated pictures. It just seemed too difficult. But then I came across a software which kind of made me wonder, what if it is possible? The software was Cartoon Animator by Real Illusion. I don't want you to think I'm sucking up to those guys just because I'm submitting my work to their contest. No. That's not the case. I just honestly admit I wouldn't pull it off without their stuff. This Cartoon Animator software, it's not as easy to use as they advertise it, but it's doable. I'm basically a computer moron, so if I manage to learn it enough to make a 4-minute movie, it's proof that anyone can do it. In this video, I'm not gonna teach you how to use Cartoon Animator. That's what YouTube tutorials are for. I am obviously still learning. Actually, I'm just scratching the surface of animation. This video is about my workflow, how I do things, how I deal with my limitations, and try to put them to my advantage. Now, it's a fact of life. Limitations are always there. I had to find out exactly what I can and what I cannot do at this early stage of my animation learning process. One thing was sure, I can't draw, so I had to resort to ready-made assets. I mean, characters, motions, and backgrounds. Cartoon Animator had a limited number of solutions for me as far as characters and motions were concerned, but I explored them all and picked the ones that appealed to me and put them all together in separate custom folders. At this stage, I didn't have the plot idea yet, only a general idea of the kind of stuff I wanted to make. It was not supposed to be a prank, but a rather serious story. None of the ready-made characters that come with the software were suitable for that purpose, except for one. Fortunately, a number of motions embedded in Cartoon Animator worked pretty well with the caveman character, so I started to think maybe I can pull it off. But it's really hard to make up an engaging story with just one character. So I duplicated the caveman and customized it in a rather crude fashion by bringing down the saturation to 0. Now I had 2 characters, black and white. But a lot of Wild West movies were based on that. But I had something more, an idea. Why not make the entire movie in black and white? That would simplify the problem of backgrounds. If I bring down the saturation of some free background assets, I could cut out parts of them and put them all together. I started looking for background assets. Cartoon Animator was no use to me as far as that was concerned. It comes with only a few background assets, most of them very cartoonish, so not really suited to the tone of my movie. Some good soul on the internet advised me to go to this site. That was a bingo. The good thing about Freepik is that a lot of stuff here is really free. You just have to attribute authorship to the creators. I found a number of desert illustrations which were similar in drawing style, so I downloaded them and put them in my folder. Why the desert? Colors, of course. If the movie was to be black and white, what else could be more monochromatic by definition than the desert? The only problem was that there weren't enough of the desert images on Freepik for a film of about 10 scenes. That was my rough estimation at the time. So I decided to cut out parts of the images and combine them together. For that, obviously, you need some image editing software other than Cartoon Animator. I have a very basic command of Photoshop. It took me quite a while to assemble the pieces in black and white collages. Anyway, with the help of some tutorials, I somehow pulled it off. The collage technique gives you an additional advantage in Cartoon Animator. If you import the background elements separately, you get a cool parallax effect which adds life to the 2D world. So now I had two characters for my story, black and white cavemen, and the place of action, desert. I also wanted the film to be quite serious with some comedic undertones. So I cooked up the story that was suited to all those limitations and confines. It was about these two cavemen who go on a hunting trip and find out something that shakes up their entire view of the world. The rest you can see in the almost finished film. Now, the story required some more assets, backgrounds, and props, so I got back to FreePic and then to Photoshop. When I finally started to assemble the scenes in Cartoon Animator, I soon realized that the pre-planning is the key. Each scene has to be mapped very carefully before you start animating. By mapping, I mean a number of things. First of all, composition. In animation, you have to put extra care to placing your characters and background details in the exact spot on the screen. It's best to draw a very rudimentary storyboard, just for yourself, before you start animating. I can't draw, so I was using plain stick figures. Camera movement. Cartoon Animator had this really cool function. You can move the camera within the scene and change the view angle. It's a great trick because it allows you to add life to otherwise static scenes. Most beginners' animations stick to just one point of view. Well, maybe it's personal, but I liked when the camera moves, just like in the regular feature films. Direction of movement. Now, that has to be planned very carefully. You just have to know in which direction the action is going to be oriented. Left, right, front. Unfortunately, for me, the caveman in Cartoon Animator did not have the front view. But I got around the problem with the help of some extreme close-ups. That's when the camera tool in Cartoon Animator once again proved very useful. With everything pre-planned and prepared in separate bins and folders, I finally started animating. Mostly I was using sample motions that come with Cartoon Animator and trying to combine them together. I say trying because I really need much more training. I got interested in animation only half a year ago, and this was my very first attempt, so I was struggling with the interface and all. That's the good thing about Cartoon Animator. You can start animating with ready-made motions, adapt them to your needs, and simply learn animation on the job, so to speak. So I advise you guys to have absolutely no remorse about using ready-made stuff, at least in the beginner's phase, like myself. It took me about a week to animate all the scenes and takes. I rendered them and saved as MP4 files. By the way, rendering in Cartoon Animator was a nice surprise. Previously, I had some experience with rendering 3D scenes. It takes forever. So I expected to spend at least a night rendering my 4-minute film. But with Cartoon Animator, my computer handled the job in less than 2 minutes. That's one argument for 2D, I guess. Now came the fun part. Editing, sound design, music, special effects. That's precisely what I'm still working on. It takes a long time, but if you have your story carefully mapped, like I said, it can be a lot of fun because this is the stage when your movie is actually born. It takes shape, tone, and everything. I'm no expert in editing, but I know about it considerably more than about Photoshop, for example. I'm now using DaVinci Resolve, but at the time of editing the rough cut, I was using Premiere Pro. The shift was not really a choice, so it's not a comment on the editing programs. By the way, one final word of caution. Do not try to edit the final version of your film in Cartoon Animator. It's possible, but it's not an editing software, so it doesn't give you the possibilities you have in DaVinci Resolve, for example. That's about all. If you haven't seen my first animated film yet, it's on my YouTube channel under the title In the Caves. I hope you enjoy it.